Okay, so now we're going to talk about the verse Krishna Prem Prabhu is learning. Naham vipro napi vaishana shudro nahang chavarni grihapatir navanastu yatirva kintu prodyan nikila paramartur purman yatadir gopi bharatu padakamalyo dhasa dasanudasa. So this is one of the fundamental verses that work as a basement in our spiritual life that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. And also our Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada gave the distilled message when he went and preached in the West, which is that the first message, the first thing we learn is, you are not this body, I am not this body. I was listening to Prabhupada talking to some college students yesterday in the US, and he said, like, we don't say I am hand, or I hand, I have a hand, my foot, my leg. So the soul is described to be like the passenger or the driver within the vehicle. The body is the vehicle through which we can perform action in this world. But we should not identify with the vehicle, we are the driver. And the problem is that most of people in society are always focused on polishing and cleaning and supplying necessities to the vehicle and ignoring the necessity of feeding the soul or taking care of the soul or spiritual progress and evolution. So, Naham Vipronapi Chavaishana Shudra is further defying this idea of I am not this body, because generally we see even in religious groups, they're very attached to their position in the social system. I am a Brahmin, I am a Kshatriya, I am a Vaishya. And throughout the world we see these different classes naturally manifest. The intellectual class, administrative class, mercantile class, labor class. But the idea of attachment to this material identity is what keeps us bound into this material samsara. So that's why it's very important to remember this, I am not this body. You can even do this as a kind of meditation. Many different spiritual kind of teachers teach this. So like when you can even do it as a breathing practice, breathe in and think, I am not this body, breathe out, I am also not the mind. Who am I? I am the soul. So then what is the nature of the soul? We should search that out. Atato Brahma Jigyasu. That's the first stage of spiritual practice, to realize I am not this body. But then that's the negative side. But then who am I? And if we don't search out this, gnoti sutan is the Greek, know thyself. So if we don't search out the true self, then all this other education is considered just like a load-bearing donkey. All these other things we're learning in the world, if we don't know the true self and the dharma of the self, then that's just described to be like a heavy burden that we have to carry. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Jada vidya jata maya vaibhav jivana bhanaika gada. All the material education you acquire makes you into a donkey in this world. And what is the nature of a donkey? Donkey means they're all day working very hard, and then at night they go and try to enjoy the she-donkey, and she kicks them in the face. Or vice versa. Meaning we're trying to gain education so we can become wealthy, so we can attract a qualified mate. And then we're always pursuing this, and then ultimately we're always being kicked in the face by Maya. This is the mirage of material happiness that we're pursuing. The mirage of material happiness is that, by marrying this person I'll be happy, by marrying that person I'll be happy. But ultimately it's like when you're in a desert and you're very thirsty and you see in the distance something that looks like an oasis, and you run to embrace it and it's just a cactus and you get cut with the thorns. So in the Bhagavatam it says, Yanmaitun adigri hamedi sukham hitucham. The enjoyment found in family life is very insignificant, like an itch that you try to scratch. But scratching an itch doesn't improve or cure the problem. You should take some kind of medicine that cures the problem. But sex life particularly is described to be the binding force of material life. The attraction between man and woman, and nowadays more and more we see the attraction between so many different varieties of conceptions of gender. So all these kinds of material attractions are because of the first problem, which is we think I am this body and therefore I should try to enjoy through this body. We don't understand that I am the soul within the body and my soul has a certain kind of purpose in life. Labdva sudurlabhamidam. That through human life alone we can achieve salvation, liberation, and our true spiritual nature. And if we neglect that true purpose of human life, then everything we're doing is no better than animal life. Animals also are engaged in the same activities that human beings do. You've probably read this in Prabhupada's purports. Eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. Prabhupada would say, we see dogs. They run 1 mile in one direction and then 1 mile back. And wherever they go, they run some distance and then pass some urine. marking their territory, and then they come back and do the same thing. And he would joke, saying, look at the highways in America. Everyone is just dogs running back and forth trying to mark their territory and trying to enjoy like this. This is called Maya. If you truly know the self and your relationship with God, then you can sit in one place, like the sages in India. They can sit in one place for 10,000 years, weeping in ecstasy of their relationship with God internally. And then when you leave the mortal coil, you'll be born into your spiritual body. There's also a spiritual body. So once you know who you are, then you can achieve spiritual birth. The first stage, we want spiritual birth. Now the soul is described to be in a seed-like state, like an embryonic state. And by a certain process, the process of Krishna consciousness, then the soul can achieve spiritual birth. Then we'll understand who I really am. What is my nature? What is my relationships? What are my activities? Who is my beloved? We can learn those things. The material world is described to be like a reflection of the spiritual world, perverted. Like you see a tree on the side of a river, and in the river you can see the reflection of the tree. But the reflection in the water doesn't have... You can't eat the fruits in the tree in the water. A mango tree on the side of the river has very sweet mangoes. But if you try to swim in the river and collect the mangoes from the reflection, you're just going to muddy the water. You're not going to get the real essence. So we're looking for happiness in this world, relationship, love, affection. That means that there's a spiritual dimension where you can completely be fulfilled in that. But because you're trapped in this ego of I am this body, and not only the very dense form of that is thinking that, oh, I am a Brahmin, or I am a Vaishya Shudra. Mahaprabhu says, I am not that, I am not that, I am not that. But Mahaprabhu in this verse doesn't just say neti neti. Mayavadis say neti neti, not this, not this, not this. The positive side is this. What am I really? Mahaprabhu says, Nikila Paramanartu Pramamritam there, that Krishna, the Supreme Personality, is full of beauty, sweetness, transcendental qualities. He is Sagun, full of so many transcendental sweet qualities. And particularly his pastimes with the Brajabasis and the Gopis are full of the most sweetness we can imagine. So we are the servants of that divine Krishna and the Gopis. That is our true identity. And in that relationship, when we go to that realm, actually in that realm people think, oh, I don't want to be a servant. But in that realm, nobody thinks anyone is the servant. Krishna is all day serving, taking the cows out, caring for everybody. And the Brajabasis are all serving. But Krishna, even the Manjaris, Radhika never thinks they're her servants. She always thinks her dear as friends. That's why even the Manjaris in Dasi mood, they are included within Radhika's Sakis. Saki means Radhika's friends. So even in the Saki position, when we say Dasi, Palya Dasi Bhav, which means the servant mood, our mood is that we are the servant. But in that world, we don't have that dry kind of servant-master relationship. That's in this world, for our spiritual development, we are the servants of Guru, the servant of Krishna. Jivra Surabhoy Krishna Nityadas. We are the eternal servant by constitution. But in that world, we'll just be the friends or the parents or the beloveds. We have these different kinds of relationships. So Mahaprabhu teaches this. Okay, I'm not a Brahmin, not a Kshatriya. I'm also not, Vaishya Shudra, and what's the Brahmachari, Sannyasi, Grahasta. These are all material designations. And if we want to perform bhakti, first we have to get rid of material designations. Sarva Upadi Vinirmuktam. Become completely purified of all these designations. I am white, I am black, I am this, I am that. I am man, I am woman. I am only the pure soul, and I have a relationship with the pure soul, and that is our kind of path. Now, materially, on the material level, we can't function always like that in society. Like, oh, I'm not a man or a woman, I'm not this or that. We have to follow some certain kind of dharma in this world also. Like, oh, I'm not, I'm just the soul, and then I can, there's, some problems may arise. Mahaprabhu also says that there's a famous verse, that utpat eva kevalam. If we don't follow Shruti Smriti Vidi Puraniti, if we don't follow the regulations in the scriptures, then we only cause a disturbance in society. So knowing that we are the soul, we follow our proper dharma according to our janma karma. Krishna says in the Gita that it's paradharma bhayavaha. Following another person's dharma gives a very fearful result, a very dangerous result. So, any questions on this one, or you want to go to the next one?
Next one.
Okay. Let's go. Yeah. Stop it. It's still running.
Radha, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel down there. Share with your friends, ask a question in the comments, and check out our website, kripa.tv, for courses, to support us, and for our articles and more. Haribo.